We're going to focus on boundaries. Number one, definitions, so important for me. So what is a boundary? Exactly. What is a boundary? Now, well, if you know me, I like to use a lot of visuals, right? I like us to imagine things because our brains really work in images. You know, we didn't evolve reading, we evolved looking at our environment and assessing our environment from a visual perspective, right? So I really like to have people, you know, envision certain things. So if you were right in front of me, I would say to you, tell me, close your eyes and tell me, what would somebody look like if they didn't have, what things would they say? What would they do? How would they act? And just sit with that for a moment, because boundaries are personal for each of us. So in order to figure out what a boundary is, let's really focus on what a boundary is not. And when we sit with that and go, okay, well, you know, somebody that doesn't have a boundary, this is what they might sound like, or this is what I might see them doing. Because now we can jump over to, okay, if we know what somebody looks like, acts like, sounds like without boundaries, now we can look at the opposite of that and go, okay, well, somebody that has boundaries would look like this, would sound like this, would do this, wouldn't do that. So I think it's really important when you are trying to really understand your space with boundaries, where you need them, who you need them with. It's really important to identify what you think boundaries are not, and then what you think boundaries are. So just sit with that, just, you know, just for a few seconds and really come up with the goal, right? Like what do you want your environment to be like? How do you want to be treated? How do you want to feel after being around a certain person? Because that's going to be your indication of where you need boundaries. Okay, so now we've kind of really talked about what boundaries are, what they look like when you don't have them, and what they look like when you do have them. So now what we want to talk about is the why. Why do we need these boundaries? Okay. Boundaries are here to protect us. And that's the bottom line. We have boundaries in our world because if we didn't, it would be complete chaos. Everybody would be doing whatever they wanted, whenever they wanted, and there would be no limits, right? So for each of us, we really have to go deep. And when we're trying to define boundaries in our own worlds, we have to really ask ourselves why. Why do we want this boundary? So there's many reasons why you would have a boundary, okay? You might have a boundary because you don't feel safe. And a boundary is going to help you either feel safe, or it's going to help you open your eyes to somebody who doesn't care whether or not you feel safe. Okay, it's really important. We might have a boundary because we want better communication with somebody. We might want a boundary because we need more time. We need more time for ourselves. We can't keep overextending, you know, in all these other areas, right? That's a part of the self-respect, you know, how do we take care of ourselves? You know, we might have a boundary because our needs aren't being met. You know, we have basic needs as humans. We have 6 basic needs. And if people are crossing the line and our needs are not being met, we might want to put a boundary in place for that. So it's important. It's very, very important when you're talking about, when you're considering making boundaries with people, you really have to go deep and really figure out, why do you need this boundary? What is the outcome that you want? Because when we get into actually communicating the boundary, it's going to be important for you to say that. So it's, you know, having a very clear understanding why you need this boundary is critical. So again, there's lots of reasons why, and different people in your life need different boundaries for very different reasons. So now we know what the boundary is, and now we've really talked about, you know, why do we need that boundary?